Hi, this isn't a video that I ever wanted to make, but I feel like I'm being forced to. There's an issue I've been tiptoeing around regarding this channel that I didn't want to have to address, but we kinda have to because it keeps getting brought up over and over and over again and I'm getting tired of it. That being, why the hell am I still talking about High Guardian Spice? Now, for those of you who actually watch my videos, you may be going, hey, wait, didn't you already make an entire video about this? Yes, I did, but nobody watched it. So now I have to explain it again. Hooray. So for the people who aren't getting it, I'm going to explain it again right at the start of this video so you have no excuse to miss it. I am creating High Guardian Spice Abridged. It is a parody series of High Guardian Spice that I really like making. But in order to make it, I have to watch High Guardian Spice. I don't like High Guardian Spice, so I like to rant and make memes about it. If I could just snap my fingers and get the Abridged series done right now and then move on, I would, but that's not likely to happen. Making something like this takes a lot of time and effort, and also I have a bunch of other responsibilities I have to take care of, so I can't just get it done instantly. So that means I have to constantly put up with this show, and when you have to put up with garbage for so long, you kind of want to rant about it, which is why I still do. That's the simplest explanation for why I'm still doing what I'm doing. But that isn't the only reason why I still make videos on this show. The reason I still make videos on this show is also because I still have so much to say. The fact that I've made so many videos criticizing it and still haven't run out of content is baffling. That's part of the reason why I think this show is so terrible. You can just find more flaws the more you look. It's a rabbit hole that never ends. If I still didn't have something to say, I wouldn't be saying it, but I still do, so I'm still making videos. For this reason, when a bunch of people keep badgering me about still talking about this show, I kind of want to say fuck off, it's my channel, I can talk about whatever I want. And that's usually what I would do, but the frequency of people asking me the exact same goddamn question rephrased over and over and over again is getting insanely irritating. I know everyone's gonna think I'm petty for getting irritated with YouTube comments, but you have to understand, I actually like reading YouTube comments, unlike other people. There are tons of great people who watch my videos and are actually entertained by them, and they say a lot of interesting things that really make me think. There have been several points brought up about this show that even I didn't consider by the comments section, and I learn new stuff every day. But reading and interacting with your audience in the comments comes at the cost of having to read a swab of dumb bullshit. There's a reason why most YouTubers don't actually go through every single comment they get, because honestly, it's soul draining. It's basically a double-edged sword. There are a lot of great comments that are worth reading, but for every great comment, there's 20 dumb ones. And they all say the exact same shit over and over and over and over again, and it's draining my brain cells. It doesn't matter how many times I answer these questions, nobody fucking listens. It's like banging your head against a brick wall and expecting to break through. You're just not gonna get it. That's why I've largely given up on trying to reach these people. It's an act in futility. You're not gonna get anywhere. But this video isn't for them, it's for you. You see, I'm sick of seeing these dumbass arguments getting paraded around like they're in any way valuable. But I also can't just argue with them because honestly, it's not going to achieve anything. So I want to teach you why all these arguments are stupid and how you can combat them if they ever get thrown at you. And since 90% of the people who goon for this show say the exact same dumb shit, if you know the few arguments they're capable of using, you can defeat all of them. But I also advise you not to go around and argue with these people all the time. It's not really worth it, and you're not going to achieve anything by doing so. You need to know when to pull out of an argument when it's not going anywhere. And trust me, most online arguments go nowhere very, very fast. So why don't I start with a comment that I think perfectly encapsulates my frustrations with these people. Yes, this show was bad, ugly, and a technical nightmare, but you have to move on. I don't know if you're still beating this dead horse for content, but that's low-hanging fruit. Truly embarrassing. Even the show's creators and Crunchyroll have forgotten about it.
Stop it. Get some help.
Okay, ignoring the utter pretentiousness of this asshole for a second, this comment is also kind of wrong. They say that the show's creators have forgotten about the show, but that isn't true. The creator of the show, Ray, is still talking about it to this day. In fact, the video that this was commented on released the same day as a video made by Ray about High Guardian Spice. So no, the show's creators haven't forgotten about it, they still remember. And secondly, I also get the same analogy thrown at me every day, beating a dead horse, but this horse isn't dead yet, there's still shit to say. There's so many things to pick apart and we still haven't even gotten to all of them. But what I think is interesting about this comment is it illustrates the attitude most people who say stuff like this take towards my videos. They think every single one of these videos is just me with a stick beating this show to death because I want to. That's the only reason I'd ever make videos about this show. I just want to beat it to death with a stick and say, oh, it's bad, the end. But that's not really the reason why I make videos on this show. I don't just want to say show bad and then beat it with a stick. I want to say show bad, here's why. High Guardian Spice isn't bad just because. It's bad for a large quantity of reasons. Reasons that a lot of people don't even know. I described it as a rabbit hole that never ends because there are so many issues with so many parts of this show that it takes a lot of time to just uncover them all. And in uncovering them, there's actually a lot of interesting things you can learn because you can learn a lot more from bad shows than you ever could from good ones. It's important to learn from failure, but it's also great to learn from other people's failure so you don't have to go through it. I've said this before, but High Guardian Spice is like the perfect example of what not to do in so many areas of the show. And that's another reason why I still make videos on it. You can learn a lot from this. You have no idea how many comments I've gotten from people who watch my videos and use it as inspiration to make their own works better. They're learning from High Guardian Spice's failures in order to improve themselves. That's why I largely don't believe people who say this isn't worthwhile and I should move on. If I'm helping people learn how to write better and they're actually enjoying and being entertained by my videos, why isn't this worthwhile? It doesn't matter if I'm making fun of this show 100 times or 100 different shows, it's still the same effect. If I can take one show and use it to teach you 100 things, then why shouldn't I do that? That seems like it's worth my time. Why should I move on? Well, I know why you'd want to move on from High Guardian Spice because it drains your brain cells, but other than that. So, no, I do think this is worthwhile, and I don't think I will be moving on. I still can't believe this guy make a YouTube channel just to talk about and kinda average anime. Okay, well, first of all, High Guardian Spice isn't an anime, and if you don't believe me, here's the creator of the show saying it isn't an anime. But ignoring that, I've seen this same opinion echoed as well. People say, this show is just mediocre or average, why are you spending so much time making fun of it? I'm gonna say this right up front, High Guardian Spice isn't average, it's not mediocre, it's bad. To the point where it surprises me so many people say that this show is mediocre or just mid. It's not, it's horrible. To the people who say this, I have to ask, how many shows have you watched in your life? It can't have been very many if you think this is average. Is that how low our standards have dropped that this is considered middle of the road for media today? A show that has a main plot riddled with more holes than Swiss cheese, characters that are insanely inconsistent, and world building that might as well not even exist? That's what you consider average? If this is average, I'd be terrified to see what you think is bad. Seriously, the fact that this is such a common opinion is actually concerning. Did these people watch this show, like, with their eyes open? They couldn't have. But I also want to make myself clear, if you like this show, that's okay. Something doesn't have to be good for you to like it. You can just like whatever you want. I've liked a fair few bad things. I just admit they're bad and move on. I don't spend a bunch of time trying to come up with lame excuses for their terribleness or saying they're average. No, they're bad, I admit it, but I like them anyway. That's basically all you have to do, and I'll respect it. I'm not saying you can't enjoy High Guardian Spice. If you do, that's fine. There's just a lot of people who didn't enjoy it, and there's very specific reasons why. I'm trying to find those reasons and explain why so many people dislike this show. And I also think it's important we separate bad from middle of the road. Those are very different things. High Guardian Spice isn't average, it's well below average, and that's the problem. If you hate it so much, why invest so much in it? Seems like you actually love it. Oh, this comment. Okay, I've gotten this exact same statement thrown at me upwards of 25 times, rephrased different ways. The logic here seems to be, if you invest time in something, you must enjoy it. Therefore, if you invest time talking about this show, you must enjoy the show. Statements like this show a level of detachment from reality that's almost a spectacle. Here I am, listing 500 plus reasons why I don't like the show, constantly talking about how I don't like the show, people in my comments like I don't like the show, and then they look at all of that and go, man, this guy's the biggest fan, oh my god, he loves this thing. It's like, how do you even come to that conclusion? To people who think this way, I have a question for you. Do you know what a climate change activist is? Now don't worry, I'm not about to get political here, I'm just curious, do you know what a climate change activist is? Have you ever heard of that? Well, if you haven't, a climate change activist is someone who has a lot of problems with climate change and thinks large companies are causing it or various other factors that we need to get rid of. And these people dedicate a lot of their lives and time to talking about climate change and all the issues involving climate change and why these companies are bad. So, since they talk about these companies so much, man, they must love these companies, right? I mean, why would they invest so much time talking about these companies if they didn't like them? Now, if you're a sane person, you would probably go, hey, that doesn't make any sense. They obviously hate these companies. That's why they're talking about them so much. But according to this line of reasoning, these people who protest climate change so much must love climate change and also must love the companies they think cause it. Sometimes a point is so blatantly stupid and wrong that you don't even have to say it. You can kind of just realize why it's wrong. But in case anyone isn't getting it, I'll spell it out for you. The reason I'm talking about this show so much is because I don't like it. It's the exact opposite of why they're saying I'm talking about it so much. If I actually did like this show, I wouldn't be making so many videos about how it's terrible and why I don't like it. I would be doing the exact opposite. So, no, I don't like the show. I thought I made that pretty obvious, but apparently not. It's crazy that you talk about this cartoon for 1 year. Please stop! This cartoon is already dead! It really amazes me how someone can go on a video which has over 100,000 views in only a couple of days, has over 800 comments of people talking about this show, and then say the show is dead. It doesn't look very dead to me. But ignoring that, the argument here is essentially this show's been out for a year, you shouldn't still be talking about it. Now, this is also a very dumb line of reasoning that gets thrown out like it's in some way a good point of criticism, but it really isn't, and I can explain why very easily. To borrow an argument from Accursed Farms, hey, have you ever heard of the Odyssey? It's a poem that's about 3,000 years old, and people still talk about it to this day. When are we not allowed to talk about that one anymore? Going a little bit further, have you ever heard of The Lord of the Rings? It's a very influential book series that still gets talked about to this day, and it came out a very, very long time ago. Or what about a video game, Super Mario 64? That came out 24 years ago, and people are still speedrunning it right now. But hey, if we want to talk about criticism, people are still criticizing the first Harry Potter book to this day and making videos about it, and that came out in 1997. The point that I'm trying to make here, if you haven't somehow got it yet, there is no time limit on when you're allowed to talk about things. It doesn't matter if it's 1 year old or 100 years old, if you have something to say, you can say it. There isn't some committee which decides when you're allowed to talk about certain subjects and when they're dead. If a piece of media quote-unquote dies because nobody's talking about it anymore, that was a deliberate decision we made, and we can easily revive it by just starting to talk about it again. It's completely up to you when and how long you want to talk about a subject. It doesn't have to be right after it releases. If you want to make a criticism of something that's been made years ago, you still can. I know a lot of criticism videos these days are just take current thing, shit on it until it's no longer popular to, and then throw it away and move on to the next thing. So when there's so much of that, it's kind of surprising to see someone actually stick with the show long after the hate mob has died down. So to these people, it's a huge mystery as to why I'm still talking about this show, even though I've already explained it multiple times. They just weren't paying attention or didn't care. So, when am I going to stop talking about High Guardian Spice? When I'm done with it. And I'm the one who decides when I'm done with it. Not you, not somebody else, me. To quote myself from earlier in the video, it's my channel, I can talk about whatever I want, fuck off. Isn't the topic getting a bit saturated now? This was commented on the year later video. We're a year into this and only now the topic is getting a bit saturated. To be honest, almost every topic is saturated nowadays. Whenever there's a popular piece of media, there's 500 plus videos talking about it. By this line of reasoning, you should be disbarred from being allowed to talk about stuff because someone else got to it first. Yes, this topic was a little saturated, but almost every topic gets saturated at this point. But just because a lot of people are talking about something doesn't mean you shouldn't be allowed to. Don't you have anything better to do? I like High Guardian Spice as much as you do, but I'm pretty sure you've made more content about the show than there is in the show itself. The classic you could be doing something else right now argument. Hey, why are you watching that TV show? You could be doing something better right now. Hey, why are you playing golf? You could be doing something better right now. Hey, why are you watching this YouTube video? You could be doing something better right now. This argument can be thrown on almost any activity you participate in because there's always something better you could be doing. This is another example of people acting like this isn't worth my time, even though I've explained beforehand why I think this is actually worth my time. I enjoy making these videos a lot, people enjoy watching them, and they can learn stuff from them. Why wouldn't that be worth my time? I think that is worth my time. Because at the end of the day, it's my time. I decide if what I'm doing is worthwhile or not. So to this commenter, I have to ask, why did you comment on that video? Didn't you have anything better to do with your time? Now let's also address the point of me making more content on this show than there is in the actual show itself. If I can get this much content out of talking about the problems in this show, I think that says more about the show than it does about me. It's surprising how much garbage they managed to fit in such a small package. Content isn't just regulated to runtime, what you do with that time matters. If you're good with your time, you can fit a lot into very little, and they decided to fill it with flaws. Jesus Christ, if you hate the show, don't watch it! I don't really have an opinion, I'm just saying. Well, you clearly do have an opinion, you just said your opinion. But this one, the oldest one in the book. If you don't like it, don't watch it. To this person, all I have to say is if you don't like my videos, don't watch my videos. Okay, I'm being a little petty, but just because you don't like something doesn't mean you shouldn't watch it, because you can learn a lot from the things you don't like. And maybe if you give it more of a chance, you can figure out that you do actually like it. There have been plenty of times where I thought a show was bad at first and then dropped it, but I later picked it up and thought it was great. But getting past all that, the reason I'm watching this show isn't because I like it, it's because I need to finish the Abridged series, which requires me watching it. If I could make videos on this show without actually watching the show, I would definitely do it, but that's not how things work. This argument is typically used as a deflection against criticism. When people try to point out flaws in media, they just get told not to watch the media. The issue with this is that it doesn't allow you to learn from the flaws. You need people to look at things critically to figure out what doesn't work so you can make it better in the future. And you can't improve if all of those people decide just not to watch or talk about it in the first place. So just saying if you don't like it, don't watch it is really fucking stupid and kind of missing the point. The fact that he hates this shit so much he made a damn channel specified to hating it scares me. Okay, nobody tell this guy about Lobster Hero, he will have a heart attack. So this seems to be an opinion that's common among people who don't actually watch many videos on my channel, if any at all. They think I made this channel because I hate High Guardian Spice and I wanted to shit all over it. But if you watch that other video where I explained why I'm talking about this show, I didn't make this channel to hate on High Guardian Spice. I made this channel to make High Guardian Spice abridged. And a majority of the videos on this channel are just harmless memes that don't really critique the show all that much. I do manage to poke fun at its shortcomings in a few of those memes, but they're not made to be malicious, they're made to just be funny. The amount of video essays that I've actually made on this show are very small in comparison to the memes, and I didn't make my first video essay until months after the channel had already been created. So no, I didn't just make this channel to hate on High Guardian Spice all day, that just came naturally as a result of having to watch it so much. Now don't get me wrong, I do think this show does deserve to be made fun of, but pure hatred is not the reason I made this channel. I made it because I wanted to create something funny. Look at Time's face for a second. I'm sorry, I got distracted, but look at her face, oh my god. Okay, but fun's over, now we gotta get serious. So all the comments that I showed you up until now have been from the year later video, but this one is from the video I made talking about the worst defense of High Guardian Spice I'd ever seen. Now I made that video because I got into a comment section argument where the other person said some really stupid stuff. I used that as a vehicle to talk about a bunch of arguments that have been getting thrown around these days that I think are really stupid. But it turns out some people took offense to that, and one person in the comment section not only wanted the video to be deleted, but said the video constituted harassment, and that it was okay to assume that I was a transphobe just because I talk about this show a lot. Buckle your seatbelts, this shit's about to get stupid. This constitutes harassment. The High Guardian Spice show is abysmal, but does not in any way deserve this level of vitriol. Your arguments are in bad faith, and your points, albeit correct, are muddled by your undeserved sense of superiority and overall ignorance. I like to hear people criticize art because I want to implement this criticism into my own art. Me listening to your criticism feels like it's personal, like you have a personal vendetta against the show that has nothing to do with its quality, but instead uses the lack of it as justification. Considering the show is feminist and trans positive, it is not hard to draw connections between its inclusive messages and the intensity of your hate, regardless of if these connections are real or not. Just imagine for a second, I make a channel called Ladybug HQ where I make 20 videos of how miraculous Ladybug sucks and also harass everyone who disagrees with my view. That level of hateful passion would not be healthy in my case, and neither in yours. I hope you learned the difference between good and bad faith criticism and learned to make good content, because this one is quite rotten. I don't find you harassing someone because they disagree with you in good taste, and I hope this video is taken down. Oh my god. That one hurt. Oh. Okay, I shouldn't have to say this, but I'm going to say it. Responding to someone's arguments is not harassment. Never has been, never will be. If you say dumb shit publicly, you're allowed to be publicly criticized for it. This person says that I harass everyone who disagrees with me, but I don't. I never have done that, and I never will do that. If you disagree with me, that's fine, but if you're going to, you have to actually provide points that work. Criticism is just like everything else, and that it should also be criticized. Good criticism can hold up under scrutiny, and it should be given the same treatment as everything else. It just so happens that the argument the person I was responding to was making was flawed, and I pointed that out, and this comment even admits that my points were correct. It is not harassment to talk about a comment that I got. They said it publicly. I should be allowed to respond publicly. These are the kinds of people who will go into comment sections, forums, wherever the fuck, and say almost anything, accuse you of terrible stuff, and implicate you as being a transphobe. And then if you respond or defend yourself in any way, shape, or form, they'll act like you're a supervillain and say that you're a harasser. Well, I'm sorry, but that's not gonna fly with me. You can't just yell harasser, then barely explain it at all and expect me to buy it. What confuses me about this comment so much is that it's so blatantly inconsistent with its own logic. At first, the person admits that my points are correct, but then also says I'm blinded by ignorance. If I was blinded by ignorance, why would my points be correct? They're saying that I'm completely ignorant, but also I happen to be completely correct and right about the stuff I'm saying. It's confusing. Do they think I got all these points correct on accident or something? Now, the part that really pisses me off is when they said it's perfectly acceptable to assume someone's a transphobe simply because they talk about a show that has trans people in it. This is so stupid, and I even tackled that very point in that video they're commenting under, which I guess proves they didn't actually bother to pay attention. No, I don't think it's reasonable to assume that. You shouldn't just assume automatically that, oh, they don't like High Guardian Spice, therefore transphobe. Making fun of a bad show doesn't make you transphobic. That's not how it works.
Hey, so I hear what you're saying, and it's actually not okay for you to point that out. Oh, okay, my bad. Oh, it's too late. You're on a list now. You can't have any opinions about this show without being classified as being on one extreme of a very complicated issue. Ah, dang it. I hate being on lists.
Another thing I want to point out is how they say I have a personal vendetta against this show and all my criticism should be thrown out because they're bad faith and I have an ulterior motive or something. This is a type of argument known as an appeal to motive, which is essentially you throwing out someone's criticisms because you think they have some sketchy ulterior motive behind it. This person says that I have a personal vendetta against the show and I have some sort of ulterior motive for hating it, but doesn't say what that ulterior motive is. The only evidence that they provide is that they feel like I have a personal vendetta. Your feelings aren't evidence, I'm sorry. They don't say what my personal vendetta is, so we're essentially left with nothing. But they did bring up the LGBTQ stuff, so that implies that my ulterior motive, I guess, is that I'm homophobic or transphobic or whatever, which I'm not. I even go out of my way to bring that up as little as possible in my reviews because I know it's just going to cause people to get distracted. I even made a 30-minute review of High Guardian Spice, which is where all those other comments came from, and in that video I didn't mention the LGBTQ stuff once. Didn't so much utter Caraway's name, and I still gave the show terrible scores. If you took all of the LGBTQ stuff out of this show, it would still be a bad show. It wouldn't change anything. So after that pile of stupidity, the person goes on to say that this is comparable to making a 20-part video series about Miraculous Ladybug. I've never watched Miraculous Ladybug, and I know nothing about it, so I don't know if it's good or bad or not. But let's just assume, for the sake of argument, that we live in a universe where this show is bad. It's really terrible, High Guardian Spice level. At that point, if you have 20 videos worth of stuff to say about it, then go on right ahead. I'm not gonna stop you. If you want to make a channel about that and people want to see the content, then go ahead. The person proposes this idea like it's completely insane, but if you think about it, it isn't really that bad. As long as you have stuff to criticize about the show and you need 20 videos to do it, then go ahead and do it. And finally, don't tell me to take my videos down. I'm not gonna do that. Unless a video has like some crazy criminal activity in it or is promoting some insane ideas, which my videos really aren't, then don't suggest taking them down. That's the equivalent of me saying High Guardian Spice should get erased from existence just because I don't like it. The world doesn't revolve around you. Just because you don't personally like something doesn't mean it should be deleted. There are other people with different tastes than you. As much as I don't like High Guardian Spice, I still acknowledge that there are people who do like High Guardian Spice, and I don't want to take that away from them. But this video is getting too long already, so I guess I ought to wrap it up here instead of going through any more of these stupid comments. If you're wondering why I sound so pissed in this video, it's because all of these arguments get used so much in my comments section. The reasons I showed you the ones I did is because all of those arguments make up like 100% of them. In watching this video, you've essentially read the comment of every single person who wants me to stop making these videos by proxy. Okay, well maybe not 100%, maybe more like 94, 92. And what surprises me is some of these comments are so blatantly stupid that it's a miracle the person typing them didn't realize it halfway through. Now, of course, I know this video isn't going to stop these stupid comments. Obviously, I'm going to keep getting them as long as I keep being a YouTuber. That's just how the internet works. But for the people who watch this video and actually pay attention to what I have to say, I hope this explains why I'm still making videos and how a lot of these arguments are flawed. But remember, guys, you aren't allowed to criticize me. That's harassment, remember? Anyway, this has been Dave, and I'm leaving. Fuck you, goodbye.
I'm Michael Jordan. Stop it. Get some help.